pretty good direct flight path for HighDistortion and NICKMERCS for that tilted drop.
Absolutely.
Of course, Daequan and CaMiLLs, I don't know. What do you think they're going to drop?
Well, like Salty Springs, you think, Taylor?
I think it's Salty Taylor.
It's looking like a retail drop between the two of them. Might, in fact, be seeing that. Of course, they're kind of threatening maybe over towards...
Oh, that's Salty.
Towards Salty, yeah. Look, they dropped at least for retail. They're poised for it, but now they're going to have a nice low drop for those outside houses of typically where FaZe likes to go, and they'll be able to push in relatively safely. Where, of course, where's HD and NICKMERCS going? None other than Tilted Towers. Does it surprise you? It absolutely doesn't. We'll see how they're going to perform overall, but like I say all the time, whenever any team goes tilted, the story is always on them towards the beginning, and that's who you want to focus on to see how they're going to perform.
Absolutely, and of course, taking a look at our boys inside of Tilted Towers, HD and NICKMERCS. We talk about this duo. It's very important to mention as there goes HD. Jumps off the building as he missed the pistol grab, and now this puts a very awkward spot. Nearly the first elimination of the game. And goodbye, HighDistortion. Thank you for stopping by, as he's going to have to wait until map number 2. Almost, 90 eliminations were left as HD drops, and that is the problem. That is the reason we discuss and say why Tilted Towers is such a nice venture to go toward, but it's so high risk and so high reward. Unfortunately here, NICKMERCS low in HP, low in just about everything, especially his mood right now. Why? Because he's lost his duo. He lost HighDistortion, his teammate, in the very beginning stages of this match, and now it's going to be a permanent 1v2 for the rest of the game.
And did he get murdered by a revolver while he was falling from the roof? Is that what we just witnessed? Or was he shotgun? I'm pretty sure he got chased from the top floor, at least mid-floor, down to the bottom.
Something like that, yeah.
And then there's still a guy down there, and it might actually have been who NICKMERCS cleaned up. So fortunately for Nick, though, nobody seems to be over at Fatal Fields, which means that kill counter is going to go down. So it's not necessarily that they're out of the fight. It just means that Nick's going to have to stay alive and probably average about 10 kills if they want to actually keep the dream alive here. We are in the losers bracket, so whoever does lose this actually goes home out of this matchup. Daequan and CaMiLLs been on fire all day, especially Daequan. Building has been on point, absolute slayer. Of course, NICKMERCS also been outscoring HD for almost the entire day. Once again, showing some love down there for the console players, but of course he's going to spot a whole team here. Smart play, looking for that squad over at Weird L's to also engage with those that just crossed over from the old crater. And of course he's going to continue to get some goodies like that smoke bomb. Ooh, that poison gas is my favorite.
Absolutely. It provides so much damage, but it also gets those players out from their cover and forces them to rotate out, and it kind of puts you on the run. That's why they're so volatile. But looking at CaMiLLs, he did get tagged up just a little bit, but they do spot some players just ahead as they're trying to finish them off and trying to pick up some frags. But you notice Daequan's already sitting at 3 himself. As we know, I've been talking about it all tournament long. Fatal Fields is one of those areas for the battle pass. That's where they decided to go, hit up the woods on the outside and push in to kind of catch those players off guard, whereas NICKMERCS trying to battle for his life. He's sitting at 2 total frags, HD at 0, so he's got a lot of ground to cover. But you notice this is not the NICKMERCS we're used to seeing when in Tilted. He is playing very passive, and rightly so. He knows there's competition all around him as he tags a player up just below him. The player is, in fact, going to be dipping out, and you never know where he's going to be.
And one thing that you notice, too, about NICKMERCS' gameplay, especially right now, you talk about the passive play, every time he fires a shot, he's being incredibly aware of what the enemies can kind of see around the map, constantly getting around those corners, making sure that those enemies don't know where the shots came in from. So that's very smart play coming through from NICKMERCS, of course, to make sure that, like I said, he's remaining kind of stealthy when it comes down to these engagements. Of course, does have the high ground as it currently stands. But, guys, it is looking very, very grim for NICKMERCS and co. As he's really, like I said, just fighting for his life right now. I'm not even sure if he can really escape out of Tilted Towers, or even if he wants to. That's the even more scary part. I'm not sure if he even wants to leave Tilted Towers for right now. But we'll see what obviously comes about as CaMiLLs and Daequan, they're sitting pretty instead of Fatal Fields.
And definitely so. This, like I said, this is so incredibly passive from Nick. I mean, he's roaming in and out, jumping up buildings, and just overall trying to take it to the opponents. But he has to. I think he got a little spooked, to be honest with you, when HD went down so incredibly early. You weren't expecting that. Whereas Daequan and CaMiLLs, yeah, they're only sitting at 3 frags overall, but their rotation is really what it's going to come down to. They'll be able to rotate over to Salty, then through Dusty at that point. Whereas will NICKMERCS even make it out of Tilted? That is the question you've been asking, Landon, and we'll have to see it, but
that's a smart play from Nick. I mean, he knows that there's a guy above, right? Usually, if you're gonna have somebody that's gonna be pushing like that, you got to worry about the duo coming in as well. But of course, smart play, knows he's pinched. Multiple teams never got those guys at Weird L's. Of course, they build up, and that's what I was worried about, him being out there on that balcony, getting caught out in the open. But luckily, he does manage to get away. Still sitting about 90 health if he is able to pop this mini. But of course, he's just trying to run. He's trying to get the cleanups, looking for engagement. But he is getting chased, folks. Spots the bandies, but decides not to go for it. And of course, he's just gonna be looking to see if he can't get an easy pop shot. Of course, with that that blue tack shotgun, a monster of a weapon, says hopefully he doesn't get killed here as he's going to be making his way. Goes for the risky shot.
Oh, wow.
4 kills, but there's still so many engagements left. Smart play with the smoke. Forces him
Nice
out.
play.
And a nice play here from Nick. Gets those bandages, and we're going to see him in a better position, sitting at about 100 total health if he's able to heal up.
Yeah, great stink bomb placement coming through from NICKMERCS. The sniper bullet whistles past his ear as he is constantly receiving shots from every single angle. Every time he walks out of a building, he is enemy number 1, as you can see him right now, very intently being aware of his surroundings. Of course, we can't really hear the audio, but you can definitely see him being very cautious. Got to be someone around his position for the time, as those walls do get solidified. Of course, trying to 3P right now, seeing at least
players.
one team on the bottom floor as they're going to be tossing out, trying to get as well kitted up as they possibly can. Little do they know, NICKMERCS happens to be sitting just above them, sleeping.
And he's going to look for that easy peak 1 pump. At least if he gets another one, that'll put him at 6 if he has to get an engagement here. But he's actually really smart for not healing.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
they'll be able to hear those bandages when he does so. I don't care. I want the heal. So I'm going to let you hear everything that's going on. I actually blow a whistle in the in-game microphone so you know that I'm up there as well. But Nick does get taken out, unfortunately caught. And apparently he's brought back to life using the resurrection option. Only available with your Yu-Gi-Oh deck, but he does get taken out. 5 total for NICKMERCS and HighDistortion.
And he did all he could, right? NICKMERCS in that situation we
Yeah.
talked about doesn't want to rock the bandages, of course, because of the audio cues that can give the opposition. I mean, whoever that team was, they were laser focused on making sure he was not going to be tilted, at least as far as they were concerned with. So, I mean, that's what happens, right? When you go toward Tilted Towers, it's that time of the evening when there's so many players online. They're all practicing Battleground, or not the Battleground. They're all practicing, of course, in that playground and trying to get to the best of their ability. But right now, CaMiLLs and Daequan can sit on the fact that, hey, they're feeling good. They're feeling confident. There's no more opposition members. There's no teammates really to face off against in this particular game. And they can kind of sit on the fact that they've got the final 30 in their hands, and we'll see what they can do with it.
And you saw a little smile come out from Daequan as soon as he saw NICKMERCS was dropped. Obviously, they're feeling good, but they've got to make good with the opportunity that they currently have, because the fact remains is they're still 2 frags down, and anything can happen, as we saw in that last game against Ninja and Hysteria, where we saw all 4 drop relatively quickly. But, of course, as the game is developing, like you said, down to the final 30, it's going to get a little bit slower paced overall, and at this point it's going to be all about positioning as they'll be pushing out of Dusty. But they're pretty deep inside this circle. Will they push out to play that gatekeeper role? Of course, the circle will be collapsing down, and then they'll kind of react off of that. But they're sticking together, and rightly so, exactly what they need to do. But a huge potential now. But then again, let's go back to what we saw in the winners bracket. We saw them in the same opportunity, at least against FaZe. They came through with a massive lead, and they ended up losing it in the second game. So they need to make sure that they are at least patient here, and they can make it work. But coming up on this guy in the Portafort, he's right above him. He's going to edit down and try and take out the person down below. And a great edit with a great shot to get the knock.
Yeah, and you saw the bush actually jump out from the Portafort. True veteran play there. Just thinks that he's hiding very well, but one of these is obviously not like the other, and he spots him there at the finale. He's just trying to hide. His player 300 has all of his hopes and dreams demolished, trying to stay alive right there outside of Tilted and, of course, Loot Lake. This personally, to me, is one of the worst areas to be caught in mid-run. You've got literally 4 or 5 different angles to be shot from. If somebody's over on that top of the mountain over here, which I believe there's actually a build already up there, of course, CaMiLLs doing a great job of zoning the players coming from Dusty Divot. As that circle does get smaller, they get lucky with these engagements. You're looking at 5 kills, so they're actually still tied. But with 22 kills left in the game with veteran players like these, I mean, it's going to be a lot of kills here for them to be able to make up to extend and actually gain a lead going into Game 2.
Absolutely. And, of course, a lot of kills still remain. And right now, a lot of engagements, of course, currently are going down. CaMiLLs and Daequan both involved with the squad, trying to get that high ground advantage. Daequan from the backside, playing a little bit of that side pinch roll, does take down one, along with the assistance coming through from CaMiLLs. That player living on the edge as he'll fall down to his death. I'm not sure if that actually came through from either NICKMERCS or rather CaMiLLs or Daequan. But looking on, a lot of damage still to be done. Trying to stay alive right now is Daequan. Need to put up those structures to make sure that he's not the one being pitched in this situation.
Definitely so. This is a huge build battle, and hopefully that big Taj Mahal doesn't get dropped, but you do see CaMiLLs is in fact going to be down, and this is a huge opportunity for the opposing team. And if you're NICKMERCS and HD, you got to be excited about this moment As will CaMiLLs be able
Get
to
back
get
here.
rezzed, and Daequan brings it back in with the edit. But of course, shots fired from the bottom as we see Daequan building nonstop, and CaMiLLs is finally going to be dropped. And now Daequan's got to go in for the revenge kill to try and just rack up some of these frags as he finally does get the elimination. But now he's all alone as there is a total of 18 engagements and still players down below.
Yeah, we'll see what Daequan can try and do. Fantastic edit to take down the enemy who just happened to drop his brother, and CaMiLLs is down for the count. And like I said, man, for HD and Nick, they're sitting pretty good, right? They're only down by 2 kills. There's only 1 player alive for the opposition, at least for the time being. They're sitting in a pretty good spot, of course, unless Daequan can start to pad this lead, which absolutely has the opportunity to. Has that purple scar in his back pocket along with the double pump. Decides to fade back and go for this med kit. Thankful for Daequan. A little bit of a sigh of relief for the time being. Was in a pretty precarious situation. Literally had his floor being shot out from. Right, like I said, if that floor goes away, he also dies in that situation. So, huge heads-up play coming through from Daequan, and props to him for staying alive.
Are his weapon indicators, the brightness, a little larger? Is that something you can change?
Not sure, honestly.
Do they look like a little bigger than normal, or am I crazy?
I don't know. I was thinking.
I think I might be crazy.
I was also thinking about how there's
like a
every single color of the rainbow was just sitting in front of him.
It looked beautiful. It looked like it was Easter. You're finding all the eggs out there. That's exactly what it looked like to me. But of course, Daequan going to find this chest down here and a blue. How pretty is that? Especially at this point in the game. I believe they've got a 2-kill lead now. Of course, we saw that knock from CaMiLLs, so that's going to be 7 total versus 5. Honestly, in NICKMERCS' situation, I'm pretty sure he did about everything he could possibly have done.
Yeah.
Unless you could dig into the ground and then bury yourself at that point and then hide. Which actually, if you have a shovel, that would be tight. He runs straight into the rocket, but he's able to get that build to protect himself. Of course, he's going to be fired in there. It means multiple squad mates going to be coming in with that gentleman as well. Of course, nice 163 health here out of Daequan, who's been one of the best performing players, I would say, of the entire day. Actually, my favorite in terms of who I thought would actually win this tournament coming in today.
Absolutely.
So that was my bold prediction.
Thankfully, Daequan can rival the fact that he actually is made out of metal. So, of course, the grenade bounces off his body and will stay alive for the time being. But, man, how close has it been? His life nearly on the line in multiple spots. But yeah, still, of course, just looking toward his western side, a few more opposition members to potentially take down, which is great, of course, if you're a TSM fan. But if you're a fan of NICKMERCS in HD, you're still obviously hoping that he will drop at any moment. But like you said, Legion, really Daequan has been performing fantastic throughout this tournament. A lot of times that we've been able to watch over him, he's finishing off with 10, 11, 12 kills. Fantastic performance. You could even maybe argue one of his best tournaments in Friday Fortnite history, of course, is here in week number 9, as he's shown off those building skills yet again, trying to make sure he has the high ground advantage over someone who could be below him or at one point would like to be. And, of course, along with that, thankfully finds a grenade launcher off the ground and tossing out a few of those explodes, Taylor.
Yeah, one thing I really enjoy about watching this, at least we get to pinpoint how Daequan is playing overall individually. And one thing that I want to highlight is his composure. As we saw him, he's been going up against squad after squad with his teammate getting dropped. Of course, with the explode coming in, literally hitting his body and ricocheting off, he still was able to maintain his composure, build some defensive walls in front of him very calmly and doesn't freak out. And that's kind of one of the things that really highlights the ability level that Daequan has, the skill level overall. And that's kind of what separates him from an amateur versus a professional level. And that's why he is on TSM and where he is overall in his professional career. But the way that he's navigating these builds and navigating these team fights and prioritizing who he's engaging is absolutely phenomenal, as we see him getting knock after knock as he's single-handedly continuing that lead. That extra credit work for him and his teammate CaMiLLs is they're just wanting to go in as far as possible into the second game with as much of a lead as they possibly can. But you see that literally getting knock after knock. And, of course, he has built so much at this point that the opponents are pushing in. They have no way where to go. And you see the composure.
I love Daequan, man. He's one of my favorite streamers right now in Fortnite. This guy is an absolute beast. I'm not kidding you. Performance-wise, I'm telling you, he's been an all-star today. We've seen him in a lot of tournaments, but this man is absolutely not only showing off, but proving why he's one of the best players in Fortnite. Throwing this out here as well. Let's just talk about the fact that this is the most build in a single area I might have seen in this tournament. I mean, he's just continuing to go. The old saying, every esport ever, go on, Go on. Don't stop. As soon as you got one of these heaters rolling like this, just keep murking everybody that's pushing you. Takes another one out, waiting for the teammates to go.
Yep.
Manages to body him again. Of course, he's got the double heavies. God knows that's the best shot
Oh,
can
there
come
we
out
go.
of the
Oh,
fall.
he's
Damn it, he's dancing on him.
Oh,
the disrespect from
Orange.
Daequan,
Orange
the
justice
man.
all around. Oh my goodness.
Oh.
That's gotta be so humiliating for that player.
Oh,
He's
no.
experiencing it.
Not like this,
But just
Daequan.
like that, just as that starts to happen, Daequan needs to have a little bit of a reality check just to make sure he can stay alive in this moment. Emoting is obviously fun, but you do render yourself to be taken down from any particular point of view. Also has to be very wary of the storm just on his backside.
Yeah.
Just a matter of moments that one will be on top of him. So, of course, along with that, is maybe going to put out a bouncer trap. And, yes, going to go right this one forward. Player just below him. You need to try to get away. Of course, now can play a little bit of a gatekeeper position, trying to make sure the most valuable asset in the game is actually happens to be right behind him. But shots still coming through from the flank. 39 HP. Still yet a will to want to build. A will to try to stay alive. Up close and personal with the Red Knight. And unfortunately will drop. But after 11 frags, 11 of his team's 12 total kills, Daequan did it all for TSM in that last game.
You know, as much as he was destroying though in that little area right there, I feel like for NICKMERCS and HighDistortion, considering how early HD went out, Nick's still able to get 5 kills. Being down 7 is really no big deal going into a game 2. We saw them earlier with a nasty game 1. I believe they had a lead at one point by 20 kills. So if they have another one of those types of rounds, totally possible for them to overcome and take this game 2 in the whole series. But man, with Daequan playing the way he is, I would almost hot drop if I was him and just go after everybody. Get 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 kills right in the beginning and just roll with it.
Yeah. Taylor, what's your thoughts? Right, coming into this next game, we talked about what the potentials could be for TSM, but really, what's the overall line set right now for HD and NICKMERCS? I mean, really, if you're HighDistortion, after that last loss, you're thinking, hey, maybe I don't want to go tilted. And probably if you're trying to argue with NICKMERCS, it's not going to go too well because NICKMERCS is like, hey, man, that's great. That
All
you
about
do
tilted.
That. I'm going to go tilted towers no matter what. I think we've seen them maybe play like 4, 5, 6 different matches, more maps rather in total. I think besides one game when they had like a 20 kill advantage, I think they went to Shifty Shafts, which happens to be right next to tilted. But I'm really coming into this game, if you're NICKMERCS and HD, are you still going tilted? You're only down by 7 kills. What's the play call you think from them here?
If I'm HighDistortion, I've got to be reflecting back when I played in my first tournament when I played with Avery, right? Because they weren't making as many hot drops as before. We saw them. What was like their most popular spot? I'm trying to think back, but I know
like Salty Springs.
It was like Salty
Retail
Springs,
Row.
but Retail Row. But they weren't going in as hot as something like Tilted or,
no.
or just directly dropping into Salty, at least at that point. So. But we saw their performance and how they played, and you know how talented NICKMERCS is, along with HD. If they were just to prioritize their rotations, prioritize their drops, I think they could play much better and make it much further in the tournament. Of course, I'm not in it. I'm not as good as these players. Okay, they know what their skill set is. Shocking, I know.
I actually thought Reflections was the best player in the world.
So
we played in a tournament together not too long ago, actually, and you could say that we
killed
didn't
it.
advance.
Oh, okay.
It's okay.
But we did not advance. I remember that. I remember looking over at his screen, and he's literally building platforms on the edge of the mountain over the water. And I'm like, what are you doing there, brother?
Yeah, I somehow almost won that game, actually.
Yeah, you did.
In a live tournament on a main stage by building off the edge of over the ocean. But, you know, we're going to see this Daequan CaMiLLs drop. Where's it looking, boys?
Fatal, yeah.
Fatoli Fields.
Fatoli Fields.
Fatoliolis.
Fatoliolis, man. They're going to be going there. Hot dropping it in, of course, the Battle Pass. But this is literally right off the rip of the Battle Bus. So there's a lot of potential for them to go down early, especially if they can't find weapons. We saw that in the previous tournament where HD as well as Crafty tried to drop Anarchy with the Battle Pass, but unfortunately they did not find a weapon off the rip. In fact, the Deagle ended up going in the hands of the opponent of HD. He ended up taking a massive shot, but not the same scenario here as we're going to see Daequan getting quick to work, getting 1 knock plus and a limb as well. But HD and NICKMERCS, of course, like I said, you always have to highlight that tilted drop. We have to see how it's going to work out for these two here because, of course, being 7 kills down already as it is, 1 player drops, that's basically spelling disaster for this team.
And Fatal right now is basically a hot drop. I mean, you saw how many players actually dropped here. They're going to be going towards that red barn area, some of the smaller shacks. Hopefully they've got an AR. He's got a nice AR, little tac submachine gun combo. But, of course, Nick and HD, both in the same building this time, just trying to maintain some support over here on Trump. Knows there's people, weird L's, of course, also normal L's in that brick building that's going to be across that leads to that waterfall area. You're dead center in the middle. Every time you drop there's potential to be getting shot from multiple directions. We saw it not work out for HD in Game 1. We'll see if it works out for him in Game 2. But, of course, 2 kills now out of Daequan and CaMiLLs. There may be some people in Fatal, but they're also having to go up against these guys.
Yeah, it's the difficult factor is if you're a random player, it's like, okay, I'm going to go late in Fatal Fields. Little do you know, there happens to be 2 TSM members who obviously are just on the outskirts of that. But again, kind of getting back quickly to HD and NICKMERCS. Right now, HighDistortion trying to really stay alive, just barely staying up. Thankfully, has the radius, has the knowledge that that stink bomb doesn't affect him just a few tiles up. But just as we start to speak on that, HD trying to go for where players could be lingering. And, of course, we can't exactly hear where the enemies are, but you got to imagine, based off the kind of the slower pace play, being super aggressive when it comes down to making it toward numerous floors, he's got to hear someone around this position. I believe he's going to call in for a little bit of resources as him and NICKMERCS decide to join back alongside one another. And here comes the opportunity. Looks like on NICKMERCS' screen, going to go for a quick little chat. Says the boogie bomb potentially to go ahead and grab, but decides to leave it maybe for a different type of fight. But players being and attacking them from all different directions. This is the storm this team wants to go under. It's a storm they have to go under, being down the way that they are. And if they want to bring it back in this game, they've got to go through a lot more fights together.
Yeah, on the opposite end of the spectrum, we're seeing Daequan and CaMiLLs in yet another team fight. Daequan did get tagged up just a little bit, having to build up over the opponents as CaMiLLs trying to come in for that little extra support. But again, Daequan is in fact going to be dropped. Now CaMiLLs has to go big, and he's going to be tagged up himself, forcing to build that opponent in a little 1-by-1 just below, coming in with the tack, trying to get the kill overall. Daequan widely exposed, so is CaMiLLs being low health. Finally, he's able to get it, going for the rest. Now, all they have is bandages, but luckily we do see Daequan in his inventory will have a fireplace too, so he'll be able to kind of res a little bit of that health. But you talk about a close call, and if you were at least HD and NICKMERCS, I know they were staring directly at CaMiLLs and Daequan, seeing their health, hoping they would drop. But fortunately for them, they will have a medkit, a fireplace, and be able to be rezzed up just a little bit. But talk about close calls right off the rip.
Yeah, what a shot that was, Legion. I mean, literally 27 HP. It's a shot difference between two of those players. And if that doesn't go through, if we see one of the players from TSM drop, you could argue this game is most likely over, especially with the factor of HD and NICKMERCS being at Tilted Towers.
Yeah, you're dropping Tilted, right? So now they've got 5 kills. But you look at Daequan and CaMiLLs with 4. They dropped Fatal Fields. At this point, you're hoping to be having probably around 9 to 11 kills, especially with less than 40 engagements remaining in this game. It's going to be harder and harder for them to come back. They're now officially down by, how much were they down actually going into this game? 7 kills. So they're down by 6 now. Because they have a 1-kill lead here. So that's all this pressure you've gotten Tilted has now resulted in still being down by quite a bit. However,
I think I'm starting to get a few more people on my side by saying Tilted sometimes, and most of the time, it's not worth it. It really isn't, man. And I know, like I said, strategies totally get them. Players obviously have their preferred strategies, and they're obviously seeing a lot of success from it, is HD and NICKMERCS. But I feel like when it comes into most games, the sacrifice, what it means to go to Tilted Towers, just isn't the same anymore regarding your typical public player. I mean, so many eliminations have gone through, and you could argue HD NICKMERCS are in quite a few of them, but it's almost like I said, it's not almost worth the ability for them to be in Tilted Towers, to have that kind of slow pace play. One of them goes down, or they have to kind of slow things up because one of them starts to lose health, and that's where Daequan and CaMiLLs have a lot more roamability of the map. When you're in Tilted Towers, you're in Tilted Towers. You're not leaving, right? Unless everyone is dead, you're not going to be making your way out of there anytime soon, and that's one thing that obviously helps Daequan and CaMiLLs out, landing where they do. They have Fatal. They can go north and find Salty Springs. From there, they can go Dusty. From there, they can go Retail Row before HD and NICKMERCS can even think about leaving. I don't know. I just feel like regarding Tilted Towers, it's obviously a very valuable place to go from time to time, and granted, you have to hop drop there in certain moments, but I feel like in this situation, a perfect example, a 1-kill difference in map number 2, while one team is making the biggest sacrifice they possibly could, and another is just, casually dropping in a random city.
The reason why I'm not a fan of Tilted, and this is the real reason, is because when you're in Tilted, the fights are coming to you versus you taking the fights to them, and you're kind of reacting to what your opponents are bringing to you rather than the opponents reacting to you. The reason what makes these pros so good is their building skills and their ability to be able to rotate through and take the fight to their opponents. When you go Tilted, you kind of eliminate that aspect. There's no real reason to build up, of course. You do build up in certain situations, but typically you're having to navigate through a lot of these buildings, and there's so many twists and turns where a lot of RNG can happen. You can get taken out by an opponent with a much lesser skill set because he could be hiding hiding behind maybe a structure, maybe be navigating through a structure, and one pump you to the face. We have seen plenty of teams fall to that. But the thing is when you're rotating through, let's say Daequan and CaMiLLs, right? They land fatal, they go salty, and you can rotate through dusty. You have wide open spaces where you have the ability to show your true skill set. You can go through, you can build overall, you can get that high ground over your opponents, and typically you're going to run into players who aren't as good with building, giving you the advantage right off the rip. So with that being said, you can control so much more when you go for the rotations on other drops, whereas Tilted, there's so much out of your hands that you can't control every aspect of it. Because of that, that's why I don't like it. There's too much RNG. There's too much that you can't control.
And you're pretty much playing with luck, right? You're hoping that the drops go in favor of you. Hopefully, if you drop L's, there's not 2 or 3 teams that drop Trump that instead of making the decision to go over to the Blue House or Taco, they all bum rush you for whatever reason.
Right.
I mean, that could be great if you've got guns and they don't, but in more of these realistic situations where you're just trying to stay alive, and especially if you're down with a deficit, you want to try to make some more moves here. Of course, they do have a 5-kill advantage in this game, so they are creeping up in this deficit they've got against the TSM boys. So there's a good chance that HD and NICKMERCS could close this one out here, but 27 kills remaining in this game, now down by 2. Eventually, Daequan and CaMiLLs are going to find some opponents, and that's what you're not looking forward to if you're HD and NICKMERCS.
And you also notice, too, NICKMERCS and HD, based on their location, are they going back toward Tilted Towers? What really is the call? Out of squad, or maybe obviously probably communication coming into factor is the reason why they could be making back this this progression, which you argue the amount of ground covered from either of our teams is drastically different. And based off the zone, it looks like that's the reason why they could be making that rotation back toward Tilted. But still, man, Fatal Fields all the way up toward Retail Road to Dusty Divot, a lot of ground covered for TSM. For HD NICKMERCS, like we said, not a whole lot of ground covered. What they escape with, I think that's like, 4 kills right now for HD NICKMERCS, up to 5 now, so looking a little bit better for them overall. But it's coming down to the wire, coming down to a very close matchup for the time being. And it looks like HD could have the opportunity to take down a few enemies. One trying to go on those stairs. He will be cut down nice, quick, and early. HD still having a little bit of that advantage, having the pump shotgun in his arsenal, ready for the edit. And here comes the challenge, ready to do it on his own terms, as NICKMERCS, I believe, will finish off the kills. HD not having to worry about that work as this duo continues on, finding squad after squad after squad, always and solely in Tilted Towers.
Yeah, luckily with this hill, it's actually going to be rotating. So anybody that would have been left towards Paradise or, Pleasant. I like to call it Paradise Park.
Okay.
It's because that's where
it's very pretty.
I see heaven every time I go there. So naturally, I just wanted to name it that. But of course, Jump Pad, they're going to be trying to loot forward here, see if there's going to be any stragglers waiting in Loot Lake. Of course, they do spot some build, and HighDistortion's getting ready to drop on this man like a falcon. Doesn't even spot him in the water. Good night, player 485. Multiples here. This is the ideal scenario for HighDistortion. He's got multiple players on another squad. This is exactly what he needs in here to potentially get this lead going. But unfortunately, he does get gunned. He does have 3 of those minis in the back pocket, just trying to build upwards. Remember, it's all about height advantage with only 100 mats, and of course it's steel, which does get destroyed quicker. Unfortunately, my wooden house did not withstand the blow of the big bad wolf, and steel was better. But hey, you know logic. It happens.
Oh, NICKMERCS coming through big here, just on the lower portion of that build. I believe will save the day, and HD is going to continue to stay up, but for how much longer is the question. At the same time, the left side of our screen, similar fight right now for Daequan and CaMiLLs, up close and personal situation. The pump shot is out. Daequan and CaMiLLs both assisting each other and taking down those players. But of course, buildings on the outskirts of Loot Lake continue to seek out where these players are at. HD and NICKMERCS live on, and so do Daequan and CaMiLLs as this game continues to get closer and closer here, Taylor.
Yeah, definitely so, as we're sitting at 8 on the left, and then on the right, still in engagements, are now at 14 total frags. And, of course, the deficit is becoming less and less as HD and NICKMERCS are starting to make this comeback possible with a few frags still remaining. We're sitting at a total of 10 remaining overall for these teams to get them. I mean, of course, a lot of kills still, I guess, remaining overall, but still, I mean, when you're thinking about it coming down to the wire like this, it's going to be dangerous, and they're going to be trying to get some distance between the two. We're going to see them on opposite ends of the mat, as we see now TSM with a minor lead of only 1 frag total, whereas you're seeing 2 different things, right? We're seeing crates for Daequan and CaMiLLs plus next to Dusty, where HD NICKMERCS are going to be on the other side of Loot Lake. So really, at this point, RNG is going to play a huge factor. We'll see where these teams are going to fall.
Looks like structures could be taken down. CaMiLLs right now on our screens. Bottom left does get the official knockdown at the exact same time. The double pump got himself making the rushes. Up close and personal fights. Does get the only 7 damage, but thankfully he's got a few more pump shots left in his shouty to take them all down. Yet again, grabbing the height advantage. And this is great kills coming through from TSM. As you're going to notice, HighDistortion and NICKMERCS saying, hey, the position that we were in is nice, but we're not seeing anyone. We don't have players in our way. We don't have players in our favor, and that's one thing that's going to be a huge momentum play right now from the other side of TSM. Having these players and having a lot of the map and open to them happen to kind of get lucky here with the amount of players they have just in front of them. But, of course, as we digress, mats needed for HD. NICKMERCS sitting pretty when it comes down to that, but it all comes down to this. Not much of an advantage right now for TSM. HD and NICKMERCS, they basically have to find almost every single kill left. Yep. Can they do it?
They need 5 frags at this point to tie it up, and there's only 5 frags remaining, and a lot riding on the line. Of course, if even one opponent that they're going against dies in the storm, that's going to be all she wrote for HD and Nick. We'll have to see as they're all going to be pushing in, trying to find the last remaining one. Still very separated, but they are in fact going to be meeting up just towards Tomato Town on the outside, as all teams are going to be pushing in full.
Oh, there
is one. We do see one spot, yes, for Daequan. He will spot somebody off in a distance. CaMiLLs in hot pursuit as well, and this is going to be a mad dash as Nick.
Actually, HighDistortion.
HD is in fact going to get one knock. Of course, another one down there too. Will he be able to fall off the cliff as we're seeing?
Oh,
does he get another one?
Big plays from NICKMERCS from above. They found 3 kills in a row, and I believe 1 kill comes through, like I said, all from HD and NICKMERCS. 2 players alive. HD and NICKMERCS need both of them. If 1 kill goes down and anyone but HD and NICKMERCS, this game is over. It is through. And where is this final duo remaining? Where could they be? It's a matter of chase, and CaMiLLs with this could do it. And yes, that is going to be it.
Yep.
HD and NICKMERCS, they made as much ground covered as they possibly could, but in the end, it will be Daequan and CaMiLLs by the skin of their teeth, making it through and advancing in toward our losers semifinals. What a closeout.
Yeah, absolutely, and that is a prediction in my part as well as you. We're right. You're a wizard. You've still been right tonight. And what?
Actually, I have a cap outside, like the Fantasia that Mickey wears.
I like it. I like it.
You love Disney. I know you do.
I do. I've been there. I've been to Disney World many times.
I'm excited for my boys, Daequan and CaMiLLs. I'm really excited
for Taylor for acknowledging
that. I'm really got to bring it back at some point, boys. I'm really excited.